Good morning, everybody. I am Lavallo, and I have been to every single country in the world, and I am also turning 30 in just a few days, and so I am reliving each year of my 20s, reminiscing, thinking about how I got to every country in the world, how I've gotten to where I am now. Today, I am talking about the year that I finished visiting every country in the world when I was 27, and it was also a big year of starting the next part of that journey in my life, which was settling back down and getting a job and kind of like entering into the new world, and also getting to meet a lot of you guys because a lot happened after that. So of my 27th year, there's kind of four parts that I think of. There is the few months when I was trying to finish the visit to every country in the world, lots of travel, lots of excitement. Then there's the few months after that when I was doing some media around finishing every country and when I was deciding what I would do next. Then once I had decided to go back to work, I kind of had two separate lives in parallel. One was my new job that I was doing and settling down in Abu Dhabi, and the other was taking advantage of, all of the travel that I could continue to do in different forms of that travel. So I will start with that first part, the finishing of every country in the world. I turned 27 in the UAE, in Fujairah, at my favorite hotel out there. And then I went on, I had 12 more countries to go to. I ended up doing those 12 countries in the next few months. So in the rest of September, I spent it mostly around Asia. So I went to Iran, I went for 3 days to Afghanistan where I stayed with the family of a friend there. I had an amazing time all around Kabul. Then I stopped in India just to see some friends, onto my way to Bhutan. Bhutan is infamously somewhat difficult to visit, or at least you have to pay a lot to get a visa normally. But I got invited by a friend, so I was able to go. I stayed 6 days. I had the best time. Then I flew to Europe. I still had quite a few countries left to visit in Europe. I actually was in Spain to go to the wedding of Alvaro Wandereds. Then I went to Andorra, and then I spent some time in Paris and France before going to Sweden, which I had never been to, and to Denmark, where I also stayed with a friend and really enjoyed that. Then after all this European time, I went for a quick trip to Turkmenistan. I saw this fiery thing that they call the gateway to hell. And then I also spent time in Ashgabat. I randomly met these guys who took me all around the city. It was amazing. We also got taken around the city by police officers because there's so much we couldn't get access to. So I finally just convinced a cop to stop telling me where I couldn't go and just take me where I could, which was fun. And then I flew to Oceania. I had a few countries left there. So I went to Fiji, and then I went to Tuvalu. I stayed for almost a whole week in Tuvalu in this small little place. It was really fantastic. And then I also went to Melbourne for my first time ever, so back to Australia. I love Australia, so it's fun to be there as my third time. And then I had to go to Congo, but I decided to combine it with one of my favorite countries in Africa, which is Rwanda. And so I went and saw a friend from the US who was working in Rwanda. I had a great time. We rented a car and did a trip all around Rwanda. And then I went into Congo, saw the gorillas, hiked up the volcano. It was amazing. And then I only had 2 countries left. So I had to go to Yemen. It was kind of hard to get into Yemen, but I found a way. I have a video called My Scariest Trip about that trip in Yemen. It wasn't a great experience, but I was happy to be able to go. I would love to be able to go back again soon. And then I was done. I only had 1 country left. And so I told all of my friends, in 2 weeks, I'm going to be in Malta for my final country. Meet me there. My parents came, 4 of my friends from New York, from Saudi, from Lebanon, from Italy. They came to party with me. And Marriott, who I was sponsored by at the time, came with the film crew, and we had this amazing time in Malta. And I think at the time it was just this joy of being done, of achieving something that I dreamt about for so long, but also this major life achievement, and to achieve it at quite a young age. I remember my father said to me, he's like, "This will be in your obituary." And I thought that was incredible, to have been 27 and to accomplish something that is a life goal for many, but that, fewer than 200 people have ever done, and to have already been able to have accomplished it and to have done it in such an incredible way, mostly visiting friends and, just really enjoying my time. I was just so filled with gratitude for having been able to have that experience.
193.
Then starts that second period where I was like, okay, well, what next? And I always knew I wanted to get back to work. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but first I did a trip to Italy with my parents to visit all of my father's family. Then I did a solo trip to Portugal, to the Azores, which, was just to kind of like reflect on having accomplished this. Then I went to New York and I stayed for a month doing like 100 different interviews. I did this Condé Nast thing that you guys, a lot of you saw. It got like 15 million views, and I like loved all of that experience. I was staying at a buddy's house. I went to Indiana and Texas to see my like nieces and nephews and my parents and like some old friends for Christmas. And then I did a fun little, what I call the Rust Belt trip. I did New Year's with Shannon in Pittsburgh. I went and saw my uncle in Cleveland and my cousin in Detroit. 3 cities I hadn't spent time in America at all. And then I flew to Tanzania, and I ended up staying there for about a month. And, I was applying to jobs, and I was just spending time like trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I always kind of felt like I wanted to get back to the UAE. So I flew to the UAE, started like continuing looking for jobs. At that point, either stay in the UAE or go to the UK and then come back to the UAE at a later point in life. But I started getting a lot of job interest in the UAE because of my experience previously here. And so I took a job with the Tony Blair Institute, so the British Prime Minister, to be a liaison advisor between him and the rulers of the UAE and Saudi Arabia. And I was really excited about that, but there was also lots of like travel before I finally like settled down and started to work. So because I had finished every country and there was some like media stuff around that, I got invited to a lot of cool things. I was invited to Bali for this great weekend. I went to a conference in Azerbaijan.
Hey y'all, it's 2 a.m. It's 2 a.m. What time is it? It's 2 a.m.
Coming to you live from the streets of Baku.
We're in Baku.
You know how it is. We out here.
What's up?
We hustling.
We're walking home to our hotel.
You know how it is. What time is it? What time is it?
Wakanda!
Baku. And the bodyguard is say hi to the camera.
I flew to Spain to film like a commercial there. I went and did a TEDx talk in India.
Say hi. It's a video.
It was a lot of like traveling for specific purposes. I also worked for G Adventures and did a trip with them in Morocco, and I did another one with them in Peru. And so it was like just a really fun, like kind of like intermediary time. And then I started settling down in Abu Dhabi. I got an apartment, I got a car, I got 2 kittens, I got a piano. I became like a normal like person again, and that was so exciting for me because for 2.5 years I had no home. I was just going from place to place, never in one bed for more than a week or 2, and so to like feel settled was just honestly phenomenal. And also the work that I was doing in that at least in 2018 was really focused on really interesting international relations, communications, and like really giving me a different view of the world, which I had just spent the last 2.5 years exploring. And I was never exploring it just as a tourist or just for fun. I was always looking at it through this like analytical lens of economic development and international relations. So to be able to take all of that knowledge that I had learned and apply it in a job was incredible. And I really enjoyed working with Tony and with getting to know him a little bit, and like seeing like someone who'd been a world leader, the good and the bad, and discussing both with him, and also serving the government of the country that I call home, the UAE. At the same time, I didn't stop traveling at all, right? I was so excited to think about where would I want to go next. And like I said before, I was deciding to do a lot of travel like for like a purpose. Like I didn't just want to randomly go on trips. I wanted to go for a speech, to talk to students, to do something like work related, you know, something that I would get paid for, or something that would like kind of have a bigger impact. But there was a couple times where I had like a choice of where I wanted to go. And the first place that I went, not for work, not for like Instagram, not for anything, was to Eritrea. We are at one of the most interesting sites I've ever been to anywhere in the world, and that is the tank graveyard. From all the years of the war, all of the old tanks that were left by Ethiopia, all of the old cars have been left here. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of them. It's really, really fascinating. And I loved my visit to Eritrea. I'd gone just the year before, 2 years before, but I wasn't able to explore much of the country. So my whole goal when I went was I just want to see as much as I can. The taxi driver I had the first time, I had his number. I ended up like meeting up with his brother, and he took me through the whole country. I have lots of videos about Eritrea, because the other thing is that when I was 27, I launched this YouTube channel. So it's been an interesting ride on YouTube since then, and it's been a fun way to share these trips with you guys. I was also doing some like trips for work. So because I was working for Tony Blair, I'd have to go to London, which was fun. I've just landed in London. I'm in a taxi on the way to my friend's house for breakfast. So it'll be a nice ride on the opposite side of the road. And then soon I will be with my friends. Mia just made the most amazing breakfast. Shakshuka, cauliflower, tzatziki, Thai salad, all in her amazing garden. We are blessed. Wow. And I combined that with trips to Paris to see some of my friends. I really, really love Paris. There's a time in like when I was 25, 26, 27, when I was in France like 2 or 3 times a year, always loved it. I also did this big Central European trip where I went to like Poland, I visited Auschwitz, I went to Slovakia, I went to Czechia. I really, really enjoyed that trip. I feel like Central Europe is a place that people don't think about as much. And I also did a lot of trips around the UAE. So I did, you know, a lot of like road trips. You know, now that I had my own car, it was so much easier to do. And I love like the Western region with the desert. I love the Northern Emirates. And so I just had a lot of fun kind of like getting back involved in like the settled life and having a little bit more like direction and decision. So my 27th year was really transformative. It was the year that I finished every country in the world. Like one of my biggest achievements is also the year that I started working again, that I like went back into professional life. And it was also the year that I like launched this like YouTube channel and found new ways to share with you guys about my trips and about my views of the world. But I think most importantly, it was like a year that I began to settle down, and I kind of felt like I felt not just physically settled, like having a home and being somewhere, but I also felt like philosophically settled in like knowing what I wanted to do and what my goals were, and kind of having built the foundation of like, this is what I do professionally, this is what I do like personally and for fun, finding the ways to combine that, and then focusing on like myself. And I can't believe that I was able to do all of that at 27. I also can't believe that it was like 2 years ago, because I think the time has like flown by since then. It was honestly a great year. I am honestly just full of gratitude for all that I've done in any of these years that I'm talking to you guys about. But definitely that year when I was 27, you know, finishing every country, getting the new job, like being respected for all of these things, and starting to engage more with you guys, like starting to have somewhat of a platform. And I don't know, I loved it, and I continue to love it. But that year is definitely the beginning of like this last stage of my 20s, which I've been enjoying ever since then. So again, I know that these videos are not as fun as like when I'm just talking about specific trips or like doing a vlog of trips, but they're mostly for me. They're also for those of you who want to understand me a little bit more. So I do hope that you like the videos. If you comment down below, I'll respond to all of them. So, you know, have an amazing day, and I hope to talk again with you guys soon. Actually, probably tomorrow. We'll talk about when I was 28.